Since your time working in Beijing and later on China affairs back in the U.S., how have you seen the U.S.-China relationship change?
Well, China seems to renegotiate its relationship with the world and the United States every decade or so. I've been involved in this relationship now for somewhat over 50 years. And I can recall 1969 clashes with the Soviet Union on the borders of Heilongjiang and Xinjiang, a near war, and the beginning of détente with the United States. That marked a turning point in Chinese policy and China's relationships with the world. 1979, 10 years later, we achieved normalization, and China began its program of reform and opening. We also had the Afghan development I referred to earlier. That is, we moved from just a relationship of which the United States was trying to protect China from the Soviet Union to one of active entente against the Soviet Union, a limited partnership for limited purposes. 10 years after that, there was the Tiananmen uprising and its suppression, and then the collapse of the Soviet Empire. That's the year that the Berlin Wall came down. So the strategic rationale for U.S.-China relations was largely removed by the collapse of the Soviet Empire, and the warmth in the relationship was done away with by what happened at Tiananmen. The decade after that, more or less, 2001, China joins the WTO, becomes part of the capitalist world, and turns out to be a more competitive capitalist than anyone. 10 years after that, 2010, the U.S. begins to confront China about South China Sea claims, and also confronts Russia and begins to push China and Russia together, which we're still doing. In 2020, 10 years after that, we have the Trump rupture with China, which has basically been confirmed by the Biden administration. China and the U.S. are no longer on speaking terms. So we've gone back to something more like the 1950s than any time since normalization. I'd say U.S.-China relations are never dull. They are a sort of roller coaster ride. 10 years from now, there may be yet another shift if this pattern holds.